Welcome, everyone. I am Amy Ward, a facilitator with the Lassard Project at the Human Development Center at LSU Health New Orleans. Thank you for joining us for this lunch and learn on writing present levels and SMART goals. Over the next 30 minutes, we'll look at practical ways to strengthen our IEP writing so every goal connects directly to what students truly need and who they really are. We'll focus on two big ideas: writing clear data-informed present levels of academic achievement and functional performance, and turning those present levels into SMART goals that are both measurable and meaningful. You'll see examples, alignment checks, and ways to make sure our IEPs reflect each student's strengths, needs, and personal vision of success. Just checking the chat here. Okay. Lassard is part of the Human Development Center. The Human Development Center, or HDC, is Louisiana's University Center for Excellence in Developmental Disabilities. It's housed within LSU Health New Orleans and serves the entire state. HDC's mission is to improve the quality of life for people with developmental disabilities and their families through direct services and supports, professional development and training, and community education and research that inform public policy. The center's work spans from early childhood through adulthood, supporting inclusion, access, and independence in every life domain. Lassard, the project I represent, is one of many initiatives housed within HDC. So when you hear Lassard, think of it as a specialized team inside this larger organization. The Lassard project, sorry, I got distracted by the notes there. The Lassard project, short for Louisiana Autism and Related Disabilities Project, is one of HDC's statewide initiatives. Our mission is to build capacity and inspire change in Louisiana schools. We partner with districts, teachers, and leaders to help students with developmental disabilities learn and participate in inclusive settings. Our team brings together professionals from multiple disciplines: special education, behavior analysis, occupational therapy, speech language pathology, school psychology, counseling, and administration. That diversity means we approach problem solving from multiple angles. Across the state, we provide direct coaching and classroom support, professional development and technical assistance, and interdisciplinary training for educators and school teams. Everything we do is collaborative and practical. We help schools build systems that can sustain inclusive practices long after our project ends. Before we get into forms and compliance language, I want to pause on the symbol you see here, the simple Venn diagram with three circles: something to do, someone to love, and somewhere to go. Where those overlap, you get the center, a pretty good life. This symbol is powerful because it reminds us that the purpose of an IEP is bigger than meeting requirements. It's about helping a student move toward a life that feels meaningful to them. Something to do represents purpose, routines, interests, and activities that make a student feel engaged and confident. Someone to love reflects belonging, relationships, connections, and people who support, teach, and care for them. Somewhere to go connects to the environments where they learn, live, work, and participate in their community. When these three pieces come together, they create the center point, a student's pretty good life. And that's what, well, every well-written IEP should move toward. It's not just about services or goals on paper. It's about aligning supports with what matters to the student so they can build their version of a meaningful life. When we write IEPs through this lens, everything else, the data, the goals, the services, the accommodations, starts to make sense and work towards something real and personal. The I in IEP stands for individualized. It's easy to lose sight of that when we're managing dozens of forms and deadlines, but every IEP should look and sound like it belongs to a real student, not a template. That means avoiding copy and paste language and writing in a way that shows you actually know the student, their strengths, their learning style, and their interests. We use student initials in Louisiana, not names, in documentation examples and for training materials. This helps protect privacy. True individualization also means including the family voice and reflecting the student's strengths and needs, not just their challenges. The present levels should show who the student is, not just what they can't do yet. Every IEP in Louisiana follows the same general structure. General Student Information, or GSI, Special Factors, Instructional Plan, Accommodations, Program Services and Placement, and Restrictive Environment. The key takeaway here is that these sections are not independent. Each part connects logically to the next. The present levels, or PLAF, drive the goals, and the goals drive the services and supports. When an IEP is well written, you can trace that line through the data to the goal to the service. When it's not, you'll see pieces that don't match, like goals with no baseline or services that don't address identified needs. So one of the easiest quality checks for an IEP is to ask, can I see the connection from the present levels to the goals and supports? If not, that's where the team should focus. The instructional plan includes annual measurable goals across any area in which the student requires specially designed instruction. The types shown on this slide reflect the most common and appropriate domains. Academic are goals tied directly to curriculum access, reading, math, writing, content area knowledge, foundational skills, and standard-based instruction. These address gaps that prevent the student from progressing in the general curriculum. Behavior. These goals target observational actions such as task engagement, compliance with routines, self-regulation, work completion, or reduction of interfering behaviors. These goals are based on behavioral data and often supported by a behavior intervention plan or a BIP. Communication goals address expressive, receptive, pragmatic, or functional communication. This can include AAC, vocabulary expansion, initiation of communication, or comprehension skills. Motor, fine motor or gross motor or sensory motor goals that impact access to instruction, mobility, classroom participation, handwriting, tool use, or postural stability. Self-help or adaptive, these goals support independence in daily routines like feeding, dressing, hygiene, organization, material management, or classroom routines. Social or emotional or skills are goals that build skills in peer interaction, coping strategies, conflict resolution, emotional regulation, flexibility, and navigating social contexts. Transition beginning at the age of 14. Goals must align with the student's post-secondary vision in education, training, employment, and when appropriate, independent living. These goals must directly link to transition assessments. And then other, a catch-all category used when a goal is essential but doesn't fall neatly into the above domains, things like orientation and mobility, specialized sensory skills, assistive technology operation. The instructional plan should only include goals where the present levels show a documented need for specialized instruction. Each goal must have a baseline tied to the present levels data, a measurable annual target, and a direct relationship to services and accommodations. When alignment is tight, the IEP is a coherent instructional roadmap rather than a list of disconnected goals. The present levels, often referred to as a PLAF, describe where the student is right now. It's the foundation for everything that follows in the IEP. A strong present level does these three things. It uses data to describe the student's current performance. It highlights both strengths and needs, and it explains how the disability impacts access to the general curriculum. Think of the present level as the "you are here" marker on a map. You can't write a goal until you know the exact starting point. Without that clear baseline, it's impossible to measure progress or know if a goal is truly meaningful. Every well-written IEP goal should trace directly back to a statement in the present levels. If that connection isn't clear, the goal probably needs to be rewritten. One of the most common challenges in writing present levels is deciding what data to include and how much. The best present levels use multiple sources of data, not just one test score or observation. Examples include classroom assessments and grades, progress monitoring or curriculum-based measures, teacher observations, standardized test results, behavior or attendance records, and equally important, family and student input. The goal is to tell the story of the student using facts, not opinions. You're showing how the student learns, what supports help, and what still gets in the way. In Louisiana, we also emphasize strengths and interests, what motivates the student, what they enjoy, and where they shine. That information helps teams select materials, design supports, and make goals meaningful. When we talk about writing strengths-based IEPs, we're talking about a shift in mindset. Instead of starting with what the student can't do, start with what they can do. Identify the skills, strategies, or conditions under which the student is most successful. For example, JB reads below grade level. We could write, JB enjoys stories about animals and reads 60 words per minute with 95% accuracy. That simple shift changes the tone. It's not about the deficit, it's about what works. Then, when you move into writing goals, use growth-oriented language. Focus on progress and support, not limitations. This approach aligns with person-centered planning and makes IEPs feel less clinical and more human. It also helps families and students feel like valued partners, not bystanders. This slide summarizes the essential components of a strong present level. The PLAF must be data-driven, functional, and directly connected to the skills the team will target throughout specialized instruction. A quality present level begins with specific data, percentages, standardized scores, rubric ratings, work sample data, or frequency does count. Vague terms like struggles, improving, or has difficulty don't provide enough information to establish a baseline. It must also include functional details, describing how the skill shows up in daily routines or instructional contexts. This moves the statement from test data to real-world performance. Present levels should be written in plain language so families can clearly understand the student's current performance and needs. Every PLAF requires an impact statement, a concise explanation of how the disability affects learning or behavior in the general education classroom, curriculum, or school environment. Strong present levels also identify strengths, interests, and effective supports. These elements guide instructional planning and help teams select appropriate strategies. The PLAF should reference relevant assessment data, whether formal, standardized, or informal, like classwork, observation, or probes. Finally, each present level must provide a clear baseline for goal writing and describe the student's performance in class relative to grade level expectations. When all these components are present, the present level provides an accurate, well-rounded picture of the student and establishes the foundation for measurable, aligned goals. This slide illustrates what a strong academic present level looks like. The improved example uses objective, instructionally meaningful data, words per minute, decoding errors, and comprehension accuracy. These metrics create a clear and measurable baseline for goal development. The statement also includes functional context by describing how the student performs when reading independently versus when text is read aloud. This helps the team understand the instructional conditions under which the student is more successful. The present level identifies both strengths and needs, which is required for a complete PLAF. Strengths such as listening comprehension and personal interests can be leveraged when selecting text or designing interventions. Critically, the statements show the impact of the student's reading fluency and decoding errors on comprehension. This direct connection is what makes the baseline instructionally relevant and usable for goal writing. Compared to vague statements like student struggles with reading comprehension, this example provides concrete data, contextual detail, and a clear linkage to the area of need, all of which support compliance and improve IEP quality. This example shows what a strong functional or behavioral present level looks like. Instead of a vague statement like student has trouble following directions, the improved version excuse me, specifies the type of directions, multi-step directions, and describes exactly what the student can do independently. It also quantifies the level of support needed, noting that the student requires 2 to 3 verbal prompts to complete the writing steps. This creates a clear, measurable baseline for goal writing. The present level includes an effective support already in use. The student is successful with visual checklists in small group settings. Identifying strategies that work helps the team select appropriate accommodations and interventions. Overall, this version provides objective data, functional context, and instructional relevance, which makes it far more useful for planning than the original vague statement. Once the present levels are complete, the next step is connecting them to measurable goals. Think of the present level as the diagnosis and the goal as the treatment plan. Each goal should grow directly out of the baseline data and address the specific skill or barrier identified there. For example, if the PLAF says student reads 45 words per minute with 7 errors, the goal might be the student will read 90 words per minute with no more than 3 errors by May. That one-to-one connection ensures instructional focus, supports progress monitoring, and meets compliance expectations. Anytime a goal doesn't clearly tie back to a PLAF statement, it's worth revisiting the data because alignment is the hallmark of a quality IEP. SMART goals are specific, measurable, achievable, relative, and time-bound. When we apply this framework to IEP goals, it ensures that anyone, whether it's the classroom teacher, related service provider, or a new team member, can look at the goal and know exactly what skill to teach, how to measure it, and when mastery is expected. It also makes data collection more straightforward. For example, will increased reading comprehension isn't measurable on its own, but will answer literal and inferential questions with 80% accuracy on 3 consecutive probes is. SMART goals move us from intention to instruction. SMART goals are where everything we've talked about comes together. The best goals are standards-based and aligned to what's expected at the student's grade level. Directly connected to the need identified in the PLAF, measurable and observable, so data can be collected consistently, focused on closing the gap between current and expected performance. Each domain, academic, behavioral, communication, self-help, social, motor, or transition, can have SMART goals that follow this pattern. When goals are this clear, instruction and progress monitoring becomes straightforward, and families can easily understand what success looks like. This example shows how the present level leads directly into a SMART goal. Notice how the PLAF for JB starts with her strengths, strong listening comprehension, and a clear interest in stories about animals and outdoor adventures. That immediately gives us a positive foundation to build on. It then provides specific data. She reads 60 words per minute with 95% accuracy on second grade text, and explains how her decoding difficulties impact comprehension when texts become more complex. The final sentence connects that skill gap to classroom participation, which is exactly what we want the present level to do. Describe how the disability affects learning in real settings. Then look at the goal. After explicit teaching and using strategies like choral and echo reading, given a third grade passage, JB will read 100 words per minute with 95% accuracy in 3 out of 4 trials by May. That goal is a perfect example of the SMART framework. It's measurable, realistic, and directly tied to her reading fluency data. When the present level and goal are written this clearly, the connection between the two is obvious. Any teacher or service provider could pick this up and know exactly what to target and how to measure progress. This example shows how the present level connects directly to the SMART goal. In the present level, we see strengths. MK enjoys hands-on activities and can solve problems within 10 using manipulatives. We also note needs. Accuracy drops when abstract symbols are used and math fact recall is a barrier. The SMART goal responds to those needs to keep the supports that are effective, picture supports and manipulatives, and sets a measurable target, solving addition and subtraction problems within 20 with 80% accuracy. Notice how the goal builds from the student's current ability and specifies the expected performance, condition, and time frame. That's what makes it both data informed and actionable. This example highlights how communication and functional goals can be written in a SMART format. The present level clearly identifies TR's strengths. He's social, uses gestures, and engages with others. It also describes the challenge, limited utterance length, and articulation issues that sometimes affect clarity. The SMART goal builds directly on those strengths and needs. It specifies both condition, given visual supports and modeled language, and expected performance using 4 to 5 word phrases in most daily opportunities. This kind of goal supports both functional communication and social participation, making it meaningful beyond speech therapy sessions. It generalizes across the school day. This example illustrates a behavioral or self-regulation goal that focuses on independence and self-management. The present level describes clear strengths. SB is kind, helpful, and motivated by positive attention, but also identifies a specific need, difficulty coping with change and initiating transitions. The SMART goal builds from that information. It introduces proactive supports, a visual schedule, and a pre-corrective cue, and sets a measurable outcome, transitioning within 2 minutes and requiring no more than one prompt. This kind of goal emphasizes predictability, self-management, and reduced adult dependence, which are key elements of functional behavioral progress. This example focuses on functional and independent living skills, skills that support autonomy across school, home, and community settings. The present level highlights LP's motivation and existing strengths. She enjoys life skill activities and is successful with visual supports. It also identifies a clear instructional need, following multi-step directions independently. The SMART goal expands her independence by increasing the task complexity to 5 steps, maintaining the supports that are effective, the visual task analysis and verbal cues, and specifying measurable performance criteria. This approach helps teams align classroom instruction with transition readiness by teaching daily routines that transfer to adult life settings. This example demonstrates how self-advocacy goals connect directly to transition planning. The present level captures DJ's interest, working with animals, strengths, helping others, and areas for growth, communicating his support needs. This provides the foundation for meaningful post-secondary planning. The SMART goal teaches an essential self-advocacy skill, identifying and communicating personal strengths and support needs. By practicing this skill in multiple opportunities, DJ gains language and confidence to participate actively in his IEP meetings and future planning conversations. Key indicators of successful post-school outcomes. All right, let's walk through a complete example of how a LEAP Connect present level goal and objectives should connect. Starting at the top with the present level, this tells us what AK can currently do and what support she needs to be successful. In this example, she enjoys music and interactive lessons with the model and picture choices. She can identify the letters in her name with about 70% accuracy. We also learned that she uses a speech generating device to make selections and that she benefits from frequent modeling and praise. All of that information is important because it drives what the goal and objectives look like later. Now, moving down to the annual goal. Notice that it directly reflects the supports from the present level. The goal says that given a visual model and the use of her SGD, she will identify the uppercase and lowercase letters in her name with 80% accuracy. So the condition, the supports, and the skill are all aligned to what we already know about her. Then at the bottom, we have objectives. These show the smaller steps she'll need to master on the way to the full goal. Objective 1 is matching uppercase letters with picture cues. Objective 2 is identifying lowercase letters using auditory and visual models. And objective 3 is selecting the letters in order to spell her name using her SGD. What I want you to notice is the progression. First matching, then identifying, then sequencing. Each step is measurable, uses the same supports described in the PLAF, and fits the LEAP Connect access point for functional literacy. So this example shows exactly what strong alignment looks like. The present level tells you the supports. The goal uses those supports, and the objective break the goal into teachable, trackable steps. This functional example focuses on independence and daily living skills, essential components of transition readiness. The present level shows NR performs best with visual supports and predictable routines. The SMART goal maintains those supports, but raises the expectation from 3 to 5 steps, keeping the goal measurable and attainable. Each objective increases the task complexity by 1 step, clearly documenting skill progression. Goals like this build self-management, sequencing, and independence, which directly connect to post-school success indicators. This math example demonstrates how objectives scaffold instruction while maintaining clear alignment to the goal. The present level identifies both current performance, counting 7 objects, and effective supports, manipulatives, visuals, and verbal cues. The SMART goal expands that range to 15 objects with measurable accuracy and a defined time frame. The objectives show logical progression, 10 to 12 to 15, making data collection simple and instruction explicit. This approach helps ensure LEAP Connect goals are standards referenced, measurable, and realistic for students accessing alternative assessments. As we wrap up, here's the big picture I want you to walk away with. Every strong IEP starts with data. That data helps us see both where the student is and what supports make a difference. From there, we build from strengths, not just deficits. When goals are written through that lens, they naturally become more meaningful. And finally, every goal should move the student closer to their version of a pretty good life. That means goals that support independence, communication, social connection, and meaningful learning, not just compliance or completion. Thank you all so much for joining us today. Our next Lunch and Learn will be December 12th, focused on accommodations and modifications. So please mark your calendars and share the invite with your team. Here's a look at our full Lunch and Learn lineup for the school year. Each month, we'll tackle a new topic that connects back to the foundation of inclusive, person-centered practices. Everything from social emotional learning to executive functioning, transition planning, and even how augmented intelligence can support educators. Every session is short, practical, and free, and each one builds on the last to give you a complete picture of best practices across the year. Be sure to check out the full list at lasard.org and join as many as you can. If you'd like to stay connected with Lasard, it's really easy. Step 1, go to our website, lasard.org. Step 2, click on Contact Lasard. Step 3, fill out the short form with your question or comment. Step 4, someone from our team will follow up with you personally. We're here to help, whether you need a resource, a model form, or just want to brainstorm ideas for your classroom or your school district. You can also stay connected through our social media and monthly newsletter. Subscribe to our Lasard monthly newsletter at lasard.org. It's where we share upcoming events, coaching tips, and new resources. We have lots of resources there already. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram for quick updates, visual examples, and stories from across the state. Staying connected helps us build a stronger professional community and ensures you never miss new tools or opportunities from Lasard and HDC. And before you head out, please take a minute to complete our training evaluation on today's Lunch and Learn. You can scan the QR code on the screen. It'll take you straight to a short Qualtrics survey. Your feedback helps us by improving the tailor these sessions to what you want and what you need to learn more about. And if you would like to reach out directly, my contact information is listed below. I'd love to hear from you or help you decide how to break a present level into a goal or an objective. Thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it. I'm going to stop the recording now, but if you have questions or you want to stay on, you're welcome to. Thank you so much.